I'm Joyce Yoder, and I've been an upholsterer for approximately 50 years. I own Yoder Upholstery in South Hutchinson, Kansas. I first started back in my high school years as, I believe, a sophomore, working part-time for a friend who had an upholstery business, and she had me help tear down her furniture. And that was my initial start. Never planned on doing it as a life ambition, but that's where I ended up at. Okay, the process for getting an item reupholstered, say you have a recliner you'd like to get done. So usually the customer will first make initial contact through either a phone call or email, and then I will reply and ask them to send pictures of their item, and we'll give them a basic emailed estimate. And then if they have further interest, they can set up an appointment to bring their item, and then I can give them a better idea of what an estimate would be. The first estimate would be just kind of a general estimate. And then the second estimate would be more finalized. I can measure the item and see how many yards of fabric is needed and have a better guess at how much the labor would be. Because you really need to see it visually to really be able to get a good estimate. And then if they decide they want to proceed, I show them my sample books. I have a number of sample books that I order fabrics and vinyls or look like vinyls, and customer chooses what they would like to put on, and I get that ordered after they make their deposit, which I usually ask them to pay for their fabric before I order it. And then we schedule in a time. Usually I'm scheduled out anywhere from 6 to 8 months ahead. I schedule them in on the calendar and get their fabrics ordered. When it gets to their date, say May 15th, they bring their item either that day or a few days ahead of time. And I try to get the item completed in a timely fashion, and they get it picked up and paid for, and that's the end of the process.
What were the first few projects that you started on?
That's been a long time ago, I'm not sure. I would have started on smaller projects on my own. I didn't do a whole lot of upholstering for my friend, basically tore down, but did some smaller projects for family and friends. Probably one of the first biggest projects I did was a Greyhound bus that had, it's like 40, 45 seats in it. And that was the first big major project for me. Favorite projects was, probably restoring the really old things like antiques. Over the years I've actually worked on some antique cars, and those have been really interesting. Some other fun things I've done locally is for the Cosmosphere Museum, and that includes some number of things for their artifacts, restoring some artifacts or making copies of artifacts, such as the Russian cosmonaut. That was probably cosmonaut suit. That was probably one of the most interesting. Biggest projects. Probably the very biggest project I've done over the years is for the Hutchinson Clinic, and I did. It seems to me it was probably around 250 of their waiting room chairs. That took me a span over probably about a year. And yeah, that was a big project. I would say probably one of the most interesting, fun ones that I did was for a project for the Spaceworks, which is a subsidiary of the Cosmosphere Museum. And that was doing some work for the Apollo 13 movie. I did there was an umbrella, I think it was like an umbrella antenna type of thing, that I actually had to stitch onto the frame, so I had to go up to the Spaceworks to do that. And that was on the Land Rover that moved around in the movie. And I think there were some other smaller things that I had done for the movie, but I don't remember what they were. But that was probably the most fun, interesting type of thing that I've done. Working with the Cosmosphere was an interesting start that I had a number of years ago. I went and asked a local upholsterer some questions about doing automotive, and he was very kind, showed me how to install carpets and headliners. And in the process, he was also doing some work for the Cosmosphere. And he asked if I'd be interested in doing some help for them when he had more things than he could get done in the time frame. Often they would ask for a job and want it completed fairly quickly, and he wasn't always able to do a bunch of jobs quickly for them. So he kind of pulled me in and started helping doing jobs there. And that was kind of my initial start with the Cosmosphere, was through this local upholsterer friend. I was very fortunate getting a start with vehicles. I initially had started with furniture, and a friend of mine who back then owned Quality Body Shop asked if I'd be interested in getting into vehicles. So I agreed to try one. So the first one I tried was a doctor's car. That was the first car I did, was doing his front seat and back seats, and they actually turned out pretty good. And so I started doing cars that were referred through a quality body shop. They would work on the exterior and I would work on the interior. I've gotten away from doing automotive simply because of the new safety things with the airbags and different safety features. I don't want to mess with any of those. So, plus they've gotten really heavy. So I have gotten out of doing vehicles, but I did a number of years restoring old and more recent vehicles. My most frequent customer would be the local furniture store called Sleep Shop Furniture and Gallery. I do their warranty work, I do repairs for them, and that's usually 2 to 3 days a month. And they will call with a number of jobs, like beginning of the week. Typically I do them on Thursdays, but yeah, they're probably my most frequent, and I've done work for them, I would say 25 to 30 years now. And they're on their second owner, and he carried on with my work after he bought the business from Brad Palmer, the original owner, and Kevin Rule is now owner, and he's still asking for my services, so I still do help them. I would say probably least favorite is cushions, especially cushions that have cording like around the top and the bottom. Those basically are sewing every seam twice. It's just time consuming. It's not that hard, but it's just time consuming. We're making hundreds of buttons. I've had some items that have taken 75 or 100 buttons on one piece. That is very time consuming. Those would probably be the least favorite. Favorite memories over the past number of years. Probably times when I had family working with me, like the big clinic project. Actually, I had Josiah's mom and his dad help me take chairs apart with that one. It's fun to get family involved. Of course, my husband has helped take things apart once in a while, not very often. But it's fun to get my kids, and then now some of my grandkids have also gotten involved and helped. As far as redoing things, a favorite thing to do is when there's a family heirloom. I've had different antiques that have been brought that have been in the family for a number of years, and we restore it back to either looking original, or they'll do a new look on it. That's really fun to make families happy with restoring something.